At the beginning of the movie, we meet War, a man who studies the birds that live near his house. That day, he found himself with something incredible, a small abandoned baby bird, but it looked human. Excited, he decides to take it home and show it to his wife Tyne. She says that it is a girl in the shape of a bird, although her husband thinks it is a bird in the shape of a girl, a very rare species that is not even in the books. War believes that the best thing would be to leave her on top of a tree, so that her kind can take her. However, Tyne believes that there is no one else like her, and continues thinking that she is more human, so she decides to keep her, and War accepts. Together they begin to look for a name for her, until they agree that it will be called her Vigelcha. The next day, they buy a doll to put the little girl's clothes on, and they also cover her wings to take her for a walk in the car. The ladies in the neighborhood marvel at the baby, but Tyne doesn't let them see her wings. As the days go by, we see the bird girl has grown up and soon she can fluttering, also begins to say her first words. And the lady is excited. Tyne says that had her saying mom, although Warren believes she's singing, because that's what the birds do. Tyne is sure that they are words, although she still has a hard time pronouncing the words with the letter, so she tries to teach her. That night she comments to her husband that the girl can't pronounce her name, and instead she says Eep. So they decide what would be better to call her that way. More days go by. Eep sees a juicy cockroach and eats it, then her lunch is some worms, although the lady tries to get her to use the cutlery, because she wants her to learn to eat well at the table. Tyne worries a lot about her future, and that life will be cruel to her, because she doesn't have hands, but War doesn't worry so much, because he knows that her wings will help her in some future work. One day, the lady takes her to the restaurant. She gets restless when she sees some birds in a cage, and then when she sees how a guy is carrying some dead birds. Then Tyne takes her to the bathroom so she can flutter around for a while. When she opens the door, she discovers that Eep came out of the window, and flew away with the birds and left. Later, War returns home running to tell his wife that he saw Eep flying, so they stay sad. Meanwhile, we see how the bird girl flies happily. However, she soon gets tired and falls inside a house. The husbands don't stay calm and take a train to go in search of her. Meanwhile, we see that a girl named Lecha came to her room, and found Eep sleeping in her bed. She asks her where she got her wings because she would also like to have them. She tells her that her father doesn't have time for her, and doesn't consider her useful. Soon she prepares a kind of nest, now that she wants to be a bird just like her new friend, and when her father arrives, she hides Eep. Then the guy says goodbye to his daughter as he is going to go to work. Lecha tells Eep that since she is now a bird, they should go to tree, and they do. So soon it gets dark and they go to sleep. The husband and wife come to the city and want to stay, but they can't find a place available. War tells his wife that Eep left because of her bird instinct, and is on her way to the south. If they don't want to lose her, they must prevent her from reaching the sea, or they will lose her forever. As they have nowhere to sleep, they decide to spend the night under a tree at dawn, since they slept in the same place. When the girl tells them that she wants to be a bird, and that she has a friend who is bird, then War goes up to check it out. However, he only finds some shoes. War tells the girl that this usually happens with birds, since they always fly away. We see how Eep is in full flight with the other birds until she lands on a tower, and people see her and they decide to call the rescue team, so they can help her. They think it a normal girl. A rescuer goes up to try to get her down. However, he can't find her and only sees a bird flying. On the news, the girl is reported on the tower and that apparently a bird of prey has taken her. The husband and wife believe that it is their little Eep, so they decide to look for the rescue agent to obtain information. When they arrive at his house, they find him dismayed and feel guilty, because he has failed in his rescue. The husband reveals to him that the bird didn't eat the girl, and that in reality, it is a bird girl who flew away. The agent not believe it until he sees her, and informs them that she flew away towards the forest. Then he decides to join the husband and wife to look for Eep, and so they set off on their trip. Meanwhile, Eep arrives at a place to take refuge. The next morning, we see how Eep is happy. She seems to communicate with the birds, and flies away. Soon they can be heard hunters' shots. The girl sees how Eep falls into a well. The others also arrive there. The rescuer sees her blue cape in the background, and believes that this time she has died. Feeling guilty again, and Lecha goes down with a rope and only finds her blue cape, since Eep had only dropped that garment. Then they decides to stay in a nearby hotel. Soon, the girl meets a boy who likes to be on a tree. It doesn't take long until it starts to rain, and when the boy goes to bed to sleep he hears a noise under his bed, thus finding the bird girl. He believes that it is a ghost and tells Lecha. Together they arrive at the room, and finally the girl finds Eep. The next morning, they are going to tell War and his wife, but when everyone goes to see Eep, the bird girl had already left. The group decides to continue with the search, but Lecha wants to stay with her new friend and return home. During the trip, the rescuer gives up since he feels bad for not being good at rescuing, so they leave him behind. That night, the rescuer takes refuge in a barn, and soon sees that Eep is trapped in a nearby tree. This time he decides to do things right and carry out a successful rescue. When he manages to free her, he helps her with her injured wing and lets her fly again. The next morning, he meets the husbands and tells them about the bird girl, since he no longer feels guilty. Then he decides to return home. War and his wife continue alone and she sees Eep flying with the other birds. Then they arrive near the beach, and in the distance, they see how Eep keeps moving away and they feel sad, because they couldn't reach the barrier. Tyne mentions that winter is near and her instinct leads her to leave with the other birds. Then they decide to return home. However, Eep cannot continue to maintain flight and falls into the sea. Before getting on the bus, War notices something and returns to the beach. This way he can rescue Eep, who is happy to see them. They back home, the family has a good dinner. And they have fun hovering around the bird girl. In the early morning, Eep is worried about flying out of the window, and wakes up the husband and wife. Tyne believes that if her instinct to fly is stronger, they should let her go and not keep her any longer. In the last scene, they decide to take her out and let it fly away, because the best thing is to respect its nature, and this is how this story ends.